Women of Reddit, what is your trying to buy a car/item but the seller is sexist story? When we were buying a house we told the lawyer to contact me. He kept contacting my husband instead and not even CCing me on emails. The problem was that my husband was working nights and sleeping during the day, so he wouldn't return calls or check his emails until the business day was already over. It was so frustrating. We actually had a deal fall through because the seller's broker did something shady and our lawyer's response came too late and was incompetent. When we bought our home, we used a different lawyer. Our realtor was low-key like this. When we closed he stood up and shook my then boyfriend/now husband's hand and said, "Congratulations John, you just bought a house," while I just awkwardly stood there like chopped liver. Parents were having a total kitchen reno. Mom, dad and contractor were standing around the kitchen island discussing a few final details before it began. Contractor kept looking to my dad and asking, "Well, does the wife want X?" After a few of these my mom shouted, "The wife is right here and you can address her with your questions." He looked stunned and completely confused, didn't have a clue what he'd been doing. To be fair, my upbringing was pretty traditional in that dad was a primary breadwinner and mom did all the cooking, so it was totally mom's call on all the details of the reno, but to me that made it all the weirder that the contractor wasn't treating her as the primary client. I went to a dealership to purchase a vehicle with my then husband. We were certain of the type of vehicle we wanted plus the payments we could afford. Salesman puts us in a completely different truck with payments $200 over our budget. He convinces my ex-husband that this was the best deal for him and that it was all he could get. I said that we needed to go home and talk about it, knowing it would be a case of buyer's remorse. Salesman looks at my ex and says, "You need to get your woman in check." I never went back and proceeded to buy 2 vehicles from a dealership 4 hours away in the next month. My favorite story along these lines was the time my hubby and I went to GameStop to buy me a tiny Xbox 360 wireless controller for my tiny hands. The male clerk asked my husband what he needed. I said, "I need one of those small wireless 360 controllers." He then asked my husband what games I like to play. My husband said, "My wife can answer her own questions, thanks. I usually order online for this reason." I went to GameStop the other day because it was on my way home from another errand and I needed a PS4 controller. The guy simply could not understand that it was for me. Just didn't compute. He was more baffled to learn that I had broken the trigger on my old one playing Apex LOL. Like, one of the most popular battle royale games around. Really? You're having a hard time believing that? It was extremely weird. Like, what year is this? Reverse of what you asked, but I was the seller, not the buyer. I used to work for a company in the UK selling video games and consoles. Guy comes in and I asked him if I could help, and he said he needed to talk to one of the guys. I told him the guys were busy, but I was more than capable of helping him. He says, "No, I need to talk to the guys about these gun games. You cannot help me." He's looking for the kind of game for the PS2 that you played with a gun controller, G-Con, like those arcade games you get. I was by far the best person in the store for him to talk to because I owned every one the store ever stocked. He refused to listen. I couldn't possibly help him because I was a girl and clearly girls know nothing about these sorts of things. I tried repeatedly to help the guy, but he was having none of it. Eventually one of the guys walks by and the customer calls out to get his attention. Colleague asks if there is an issue and customer says he needs help with these games. Colleague looks at me with a "Why is he asking me? You clearly know more than anyone else here. Why are you not helping him?" Eyebrow motion. I just rolled my eyes and made a one-off double boob honk motion with my hands. Not on my boobs, just in the air. The guys knew my boob honk signals. Single was this guy's being a tit. Double meant because I have boobs, he's sexist. This customer ended up getting sent round every other member of staff. All were male barmy, and I think there were 6 of us in that day including our stockroom trolls, until he ended up being passed to the guy who I was seeing at the time. We played/owned the games together, but I was more knowledgeable about the games themselves and better equipped to go through pros and cons with him. But whatever. The guy I was seeing starts going through the games, but wasn't able to answer some of the questions, and he starts talking about his colleague/gaming partner. He tells the customer how the two of them play all these games together, that his partner is better and owns all of them, Has multiple controllers including some with laser sights etc. The customer starts getting very excited. Customer asks if he is in today and can help with these games. My colleague/boyfriend says just a sec, might be busy. He then calls me from across the store. Customer looks over and clearly thinks I'm being asked if Super Shooter Gamer Pro is working today, only for his face to fall when I get asked, can you help this guy with the G-Con games? I respond with tried to help him already. Apparently boobs make me too stupid to help him, and I carry on with what I'm doing. Immediately several women including one of the center's female security guards in the shop turn and look at the guy, and he looks like a rabbit in headlights. I don't think I ever saw anyone leave the shop so fast. Didn't see him again in the store after that either. My wife told me a story once when she was out with her mom, who was looking to buy some new living room furniture. This must have been the early to mid 90s. After dealing with the salesman and picking out what she wanted, he told her that he would need to call her husband to make sure she had his permission to buy new furniture. She just got up and walked out. Mom answers phone. Hello. Phone sales guy. I'd like to talk to the man of the house. Mom. So would I, but he's been dead for 5 years now. I was in my early 20s. To paint a picture, my husband and I are an interracial couple and we entered a game shop a moment apart since I'd stopped to throw something out. People often assume we are not together even when we stand next to each other, and this man clearly thought I'd come in alone. I had been playing Magic for a few years at this point. I knew enough to shop for decent cards to swap into my commander deck, but my now husband, then boyfriend, was at the time building most of my decks as I was generally using his cards, and building decks is a pastime he enjoys. My SO was perusing the shop and I went right to the front case. Things were immediately awkward. As I looked in the case the guy asked me, oh so you play Magic? What's the newest set called? What commander do you play? Tell me the steps in a turn. Which I'm used to, but was still annoying coming from the shop worker. There was some card, like an uncommon enchantment. It was fine, but not that good of a card, that they had marked as costing $500-ish. I couldn't see that it was a joke price, as it was smack in the middle of a bunch of cards worth less than $15, and wasn't highlighted in any way. I asked the guy why it was marked that way, having been told by my SO that some cards are worth a crap ton, and not having bought that many cards in my life I assumed there was some reason. Or at least if the price was a joke, that they'd have a reason for that. This guy launched into a long explanation of a sort of Rube Goldberg-esque chain of events that the card was a part of. Not knowing the names of most cards, I listened intently as he described how this card set off things like a colorless worm named Secret of Nala, and then you can sacrifice the card Grenadine Bones to draw 6 cards, which you can have picked and put on top of your deck using Spirit of Masquerade. You get the idea. Fake cards and effects. He had me, a customer, trying to follow a nonsensical trail of fake cards because I asked about a fake price on a card in his store. At this point my SO came back over and was like, hey wait, none of those cards are real? And the guy responded, yeah I know, this girl doesn't know any cards, so I'm just messing with her. Then he turned back to me laughing and said, sorry sweetheart, I just knew you didn't really know about Magic. Before I could speak my SO was like, that's funny, my girlfriend kicked butt against my friends and I in command last night. Not sure why you wouldn't want to answer a customer's questions for real, no matter what they knew. He left all the cards he had been pulling from their binders to purchase on the counter, and we have not been back. We left that shop and didn't return. We have a great shop near us where everyone is super chill. But yeah, that guy was weird. Ugh, screw people like this. I had a similar experience but with D&D die. This dude was trying to sell me a set of dice used for some other game. I had been new to D&D, but playing long enough to know the heckin' dice I needed. I kept arguing with him telling him the dice I wanted to get, and he kept insisting with this crap-eating grin that no, you need these dice for D&D. Like I could tell he was screwing with me, just because I was a girl. I'd been in line, and had seen him interact fine with guys. Finally, I looked over at his coworker and said, hey man, can I just get this set of dice so I can leave? His coworker looked at the crap eater and sighed, and said yeah come over to this register. Like he was so used to this tool pulling crap like this. I handle my own investments. One investment company sends all correspondence to Mr. Obviously female name. No, I never stated that I was a Mr. or mistakenly wrote down Mr. somewhere. They just can't understand that women handle their own investments. I used to do admin work for an asset management company, and all of their existing letter templates for both clients and providers that were made prior to my employment were set up with "Dear Sir" only. I was at an airport duty-free shop looking for a decent bottle of whiskey to get as a Christmas present for a friend. Shop employee came up and asked me what I was looking for. I told him I was deciding on a bottle of whiskey. He asked if it was for a man or woman and I responded kind of puzzled, "Why does it matter?" He told me it mattered a lot because women only like sweet drinks, and then in response to the totally baffled look on my face, asked me to explain why, if it wasn't true, women like Coca-Cola so much. I just, what? Women only liking sweet drinks is a common and irritating stereotype, but his reasoning, that women like Coca-Cola, the most popular soda in the world, what? Okay. I had to buy a new vehicle in March after I was hit by a drunk driver. I already knew what I wanted. A 2019 RAV4 XLE. Cool. So I start going to places with my boyfriend and tell them exactly what I want and ask for prices. They ask how much I'm looking to spend and what I'm going to put down to my boyfriend, who promptly says, "It's her money, ask her." And they continue talking to him about the features with off-roading and what kind of trails you can take this thing on, etc. And he's just sitting there with a blank stare on his face. Then the guy turns to me to ask what color I want. That was the only question he had for me, because why would I care about anything else? So when I said, "I don't care," he just would not have it. He insisted, until I asked, "Do the red ones go faster or something? If I'm just getting a price, who cares about the color? And why are you pushing it when I have clearly stated I don't care?" He got me a price and asked for my business. I said no and left to use his offer to haggle with other dealers, where I encountered the same effing thing at 4 other dealers. Same questions about everything. One of them asked me 5 times about color. I bought my RAV from the last place of the day, the only one who actually spoke to me and not my boyfriend. I got a very good price on it, and I got it in red, because they go faster. Wow, you made it to the end. Thank you for watching, you precious little gem, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day, and as usual, remember to stay frosty.